Hello and welcome to our course on Python for data analysis. In this section, we'll be talking about two powerful functions in Python, which are map and filter. They allow us to apply functions to sequences and filter elements based on a condition. So before we get started, you know what to do. Don't forget to like the video, put your question in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel. Let's code.
9 to 5 data.
The map function in Python applies a given function to each item of an iterable, like a list, or sometimes if you have a data frame, and also it returns a list of the results. So the filter function, on the other hand, filters element of an iterable based on a given function and return a list of elements for which the function returns true. An example of a map function syntax now. So we have the map keyword, in brackets the function we are trying to use and the iterable element. So it takes two arguments. So the first argument is the function and the iterable element. So same thing with filter. The first argument is the function and the iterable element. So let's take example of how this is done in Python. So let's go to our Jupyter notebook. So map function, we already explained the syntax to us that it takes in two arguments, the function and the iterable element. So the function is what is to be applied to each element of the iterable, and the iterable is the sequence, collections, or iterator to be mapped or filtered. So for the instance of map function now, so the iterator, it is the sequence to be mapped. Let's start. So first thing we need to do is to get the iterable element. So let's say we have a list of numbers. So we can do numbers equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So then the next thing we need to do again is to define our function. So the function we want is, what we want to do is we want to get the square of this element. We want to square all these elements. So we'll define our square function and takes in an argument. And after that, so we return num, the argument, the square of it. So that is our function defined. So the next thing we want to do now is to use the map to map every element of the list to the function we have created. So that is we want to get the square of every element. So what we are doing is use map to apply the square function to each element. So what we are going to do, like our syntax has said, is map and the function, which is square function, which is our square, and the iterable element, which is the numbers. So we can save everything here. We can save it into a variable. So let's say we want to save it into a variable called square number. Then let's run this. So if we print the square number, so what we get is just a memory location of the results. So the reason why this is happening is because it has mapped this and saved it into a memory. So for us to see what we have actually done, we need to convert this into another data structure. So let's say, for example, we can convert this into a list of numbers. So we can say print list and the squared numbers. So we should get our results, and which are square of 1 is 1, and the square of 2 is 4, square of 3 is 9, and that of 4 is 16, and that of 5 is 25. So that is about the map function. So we go to the filter function, which also work the same way but perform a different thing. So the filter function is to filter an element based on a certain condition. So the same thing we have done earlier, we need an iterable element and the function that we want to apply to the iterable element so that we'll be able to use our filter function. So the first thing we define is the iterable element. So we can still use the same numbers list here for 5. And the function now, what we are trying to do here now is that we are trying to filter out of this list even numbers. So we define the functions which we can say is even, and it takes in numbers, and we say we want to return the numbers modulus 2 equals 0. So this is trying to tell us that we are only returning the numbers that are divisible by 2. That will show us the numbers that are even numbers. So we run this. Then the next thing is that we apply our filter function. So let's say use filter to get the even numbers. So we can say filter the function which is even, comma, our iterable element which is numbers, and we can all save this into a variable called even numbers. And let's run this. So the next thing we can do is we can print this, and also it will be beneficial to save it, to convert it to a list data structure and say even numbers. So we get 2. So because we already know that out of the list of numbers we have, 2 and 4 are the even numbers. So we have covered the basics of map and filter functions. In the next video, we'll talk about lambda function. So don't forget to put your question in the comment section, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. Happy coding.